Hi there everybody and welcome to another episode of my players royally screwing up an otherwise very straightforward situation. Hi there fellow roleplayers and game masters, my name is Mr. Tarask and this is still your go-to YouTube channel for anything tabletop RPG. And as you might know, I've been doing a video series on the Scarlet Citadel. While I run my players, or my players run themselves or their characters through the levels of this mega dungeon by Kobold Press. It's an incredibly good book, I really love it. It has a little bit like some quirks to it that I like a little bit less, but overall I'm super happy about the Scarlet Citadel by Kobold Press. And my players have now reached level 3 out of level 5. And I've been doing a video after every session talking about my players' smart decisions, my players' fun decisions, and my players' stupid ass decisions. And last session was one of those stupid ass sessions. My players are really focused on a few things and they just are really bad at taking hints from a game master or taking hints from the hints that are in the book itself in order to tell them like, hey, you should not do this or you should not do that in order to stay alive, because Scarlet Citadel is a really dangerous and deadly dungeon. And believe me when I say my players' characters have been very lucky a couple of times. Without my intervention, the dice just fell right on the right moments, otherwise we would have had a TPK already, or at least a few character deaths. Now the Scarlet Citadel has 6 levels to it, and my players have just reached level 3. Now when I say reached level 3, I mean reached level 3, because they hung around like the first corridor and room of like level 3. And all of these levels are an entire thing by themselves. They all have like different themes to them. They all have like, because the Scarlet Citadel is ancient, there has been like a lot of different peoples and a lot of different monsters and a lot of different entities living in it, so everybody did its own thing with it, right? And level 3 are what they call the dwarven barracks. That's what the book says it is, and that's what it has been. It were dwarven barracks thousands, maybe hundreds, I don't know, years ago. Dwarves lived there under the Scarlet Citadel. They had just made barracks there so the dwarves could reside there under the ground, because dwarves like to be under the ground, right? Now, at this point in time, when my players reach the Scarlet Citadel, these barracks are now owned, overrun, whatever, by trolls. And if you do not know what trolls are basically humans, but they look more like trolls. And these trolls are there in their dozens. Now, the book doesn't really state exactly how many trolls there are, but for me, there's this entire warband of trolls in there, and they barricaded the shit out of that level. And they like barricaded it, they had Molotov cocktails, they had all kinds of different defensive mechanisms telling my players to stay out. Literally, there were signs, stay the fuck out. It doesn't say fuck, but stay out. And there were spikes, and there were shields, and there were walls, and there were like barricades and all that stuff. And if you came too close or you knocked on the door, a Molotov cocktail flew over the fence, and you need to go back. And my players are really bad at taking hints. Now, my players are really focused on progression. They want to get to the end of the dungeon and kill the guy that is in the like lowest level. Gellert the Gruesome, that's who they want to go kill, right? That's their mission. They want to go kill that guy. They have their reasons in my campaign to go kill that guy. But they're really focused on progression. Now, the book Scarlet Citadel clearly says that if you try to do this thing like in one run through, you will probably end up dead, because the dungeon is not designed to just like keep digging away until you reach certain death, right? It is meant to go in, clear a section, do some stuff, then go back, regroup, rest up, maybe get some new weapons, get some healing potions, get some tips from the locals, because there is a red tower, the village is in there. Now my players refuse to do that. They just keep on digging away. There are a bunch of murder hobos just going straight through the dungeon, and this almost killed them. Now, I said almost killed them. It might very well end up killing them early in the next session, because they screw up so badly that by the end of our session, I had to stop the session because it was just time to go home for me and my girlfriend. So, but they're in the middle of a very sticky, shitty situation involving a bunch of trolls with a war machine, Molotov cocktails, and a lot of weapons. Oh, and they have nowhere to go. They're locked in. The party, not the trolls. So let me just quickly try to summarize what happened and why this is a really shitty situation for them. So I have 5 players at my table, 3 females, one of which being my girlfriend, and 2 male players. I don't know why I say that and why that makes any difference. It doesn't, but that's just the people at my table. 5 players, right? And they're a party, a bunch of friends, and we just have a lot of laughs and we play a lot of Dungeons and Dragons together, right? So in level 3 of the Scarlet Citadel are Dwarven barracks, and they are barricaded, literally, with like wooden planks, makeshift like rugged type thing with like old spears and shields of previous adventurers they might have killed, and they're like, it's like literally a stay out situation. It's when you are walking through the forest and you come up like this private sector of somebody and they have like a bunch of stuff there, like don't come in kind of bunch of stuff, that, right? And my players, curious they are, they started talking amongst each other like, did we miss like a secret entrance to level 3, or is there maybe a shortcut to like level 4 or whatever? And they were talking amongst themselves. Of course there are secret entries and that kind of stuff, they just didn't find them, right? But they were just talking amongst themselves, and then 2 of them just randomly decided to pick an axe out of their backpack and start hammering away at the barricade that was clearly built by somebody who builds barricades. It wasn't just like an accidental pile of rubble, it was just like a real barricade. After this barricade is like this big dwarven hole. You can see that from over the barricade, but that's all you can see. While they were doing that, of course, a Molotov cocktail flew over the fence, landed on their feet, did some damage, but they were able to jump back and nobody got like really badly harmed, right? So what did they do? Naturally, they ran away. Of course, they didn't run away. They started building their own Molotov cocktails. So they built their own Molotov cocktails, tossed them over the fence, and this back and forth kind of thing of Molotov cocktails happened for a bit, and they were like, okay, let's stop this. We could burn this thing to the ground. That was a bad idea, so they didn't do that. We could knock this thing down and just run through it. It was a bad idea, they didn't do that. So what my girlfriend decided to do was peek over the fence, like this, and then just cast a spell on like the leader of the trolls to calm him down for half an hour. So she cast like this kind of spell. So the troll didn't attack her, so they had like a conversation. Now, when she peeked over the fence, she saw, because the players were like hammering away at the fence and all that kind of stuff, they made noise, and the war band leader on the other side was able to call in his guys. Everybody from level 3 just joined up in front of that part of the dungeon, was like, okay, let's kill the crap out of this party, because otherwise, if they remained quiet from the get-go, they might have been able to sneak over it and be unnoticed or that kind of stuff. There were more options if they remained quiet, right? But they didn't. They hammered away at it, right? That's what a party does. It's just a bunch of murder hobos going through a dungeon, yeah. So they hammered away, they do this thing, and my girlfriend is like, hey, maybe we can get through. We just want to go to level 4. Of course, the trolls are not gonna let them through, because the trolls are basically a literally meat shield between Gallard the Gruesome and adventurers going to try to kill Gallard the Gruesome. So the trolls are like, no fucking way. What she saw though was really bad. She saw, I don't know how many, I think I rolled for it. There was like a bunch of trolls there, all weapons, like armed to the bone, right? And they had a, what's that called? A battering ram? Like 4 wheels and a wooden thing, a battering ram, like a Age of Empires 2 kind of battering ram, with on top of it a ballista, with a guy standing behind it. And it wasn't just a ballista, it was a repeating ballista. So my girlfriend was like, oh shit. So this like kind of ballista, like, but yeah, so they decided, of course, at that point to run away. Of course they didn't run away. The smartest thing to do for them was, in their minds, to take a scroll of teleportation, again, my girlfriend's ID, and to teleport themselves behind a warband of orcs with a moving ballista, and then run through the dungeon. That was their plan. Here is what happened. So my girlfriend's character, Nim, was able to use the scroll of teleportation to create a doorway that lasted a few seconds that the entire party could move through. The last guy in the party, Sam, in this case, decided to make a Molotov cocktail, and right before going through the door, toss the Molotov cocktail over the wall and then go through the door and spawn on the other end of the trolls. Meaning that the trolls saw this Molotov cocktail coming right at them, so they thought the characters were still there, but the characters were actually there for them. So they unleashed their complete wrath on that wall, on that barricade, because that was the entire point of that barricade. That barricade is there for that storm thingy, that battering ram to just like go through and then kill everybody who's on the other side. So they started shooting ballistas they started shooting javelins from the ballista. They start like tossing spears and axes, and they just rammed through the wall, noticing the players weren't there. Now the player characters. So the characters, my players, they were convinced that out of like these 24 trolls, not a single one was going to look behind themselves. Of course, if there were like 3 or 4 of them, I might have rolled for that. Maybe they got lucky and they were like, did they go up the staircase again? Something like that. But there were like 24 of them or something like that. So one of them looked back and they were like, it was like, they're right there. So this entire warband of trolls, consisting of, again, a battering ram with a repeating ballista on top of it, and like 24-ish trolls with a battle commander who buffs all the trolls. That part my players don't know yet, but this battle commander buffs all of the other trolls. They just turn around and start charging the players. So my players had one tactic left. Run. They couldn't run back from where they came because they used teleportation to get through the warband of trolls, right? So the only way was to go deeper in the dungeon. Little did they know, they ran into a huge storage room that didn't really have a way out. So we ended the session with them being stuck in a storage room, building their own barricade out of like the barrels and the crates that are in the storage room. One guy sitting on his knees, literally creating Molotov cocktails while a warband is storming at them. So 2 people are like using spells in their hands to make like this barricade in front of the huge ass door. And then there is one guy sitting on their knees trying to make Molotov cocktails, and the 2 other people, they are trying to open the other door that is in the storage room that is completely locked. They're fucked. They're really fucked. Until next video, bye-bye.